It's that time of year again, and Fishing the DMV is proud to announce its next major tournament, the Merry Bassmas Bash on Tourney X. Registration is open now and it closes December 15th. I am guaranteeing $400 for the first place angler, $200 for the second place angler, $100 for the third place angler. And to get in the Christmas spirit of things, I am giving away $100 for the biggest smallmouth caught in Pennsylvania, the biggest smallmouth caught in Virginia, the biggest smallmouth caught in Maryland, and I'm giving away $100 for the biggest largemouth caught and the second biggest largemouth caught as well. And if we get over 40 people to sign up, I'm going to increase the prizes for everything. Again, registration is now open and it closes December 15th. And you have to be a Patreon member to join this tournament. All Patreon supporters will receive 5% off their orders to Jake's Bait and Tackle, 10% off their orders to Tiger Crankbaits, 10% off their orders to Catoctin Creek Rods. They'll also gain access to our private Facebook group community, loads of members-only content, and of course, access to the Bassmas Bash on Tourney X. Ho, ho, ho. See you there. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Fishing the DMV. I'm your host, Thomas Ahrens, and today I have on Cooper Ahrens. Cooper has a really cool story here. You just won the Big Bass event out on Smith Mountain Lake. Dude, thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you for letting me on here.
So,
Means a whole lot.
Oh, dude, you're more than welcome. I mean, I really can't wait to get into this story, but as always, I do this with new guests on the show. How did you get involved in fishing? What's your history?
I've been fishing ever since I was a little kid. My cousin started bringing me to ponds around the house all the time. And I was fishing with a little old push button rod, and I just got into it. I started going with my daddy to the lake perch fishing, and I just kind of got an act for bass fishing, and I had never wanted to do nothing since.
That's so freaking cool.
It's crazy.
And then you said he's a guide?
Like yeah, he's a striper guide.
How'd he get into that?
He's been guiding for 2 or 3 years now. He was a farmer, and he always wanted to be a guide. And he's been fishing up there his whole life, too, for stripers. So he just kind of started guiding, and it all worked out for him.
You said he was a farmer. What did he actually, I guess, farm? I don't know the term. I'm not a farmer.
He farmed corn and beans and stuff like that. And we was all real big into tobacco farming.
How big of a farm did you guys have?
We had a big one. I don't know how many acres it was. My uncle still runs it.
You guys do any deer hunting on it?
Yeah, that's what it used to be. It's hard to hunt anywhere now. We ain't got many big deer as we used to have.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I really don't. There's a whole lot of stuff happens around here, though. People riding around, doing stupid stuff they shouldn't be doing, killing them.
It's crazy. I have friends down in the Roanoke area, and it's split. You have some people that have some hidden gems, but like up here in Northern Virginia and Maryland, no one hunts anymore. So I almost hit like an 8-point buck last night driving home. But again, you can't hunt anywhere unless you get a suppressor and like sneak on the property illegally, because all the wineries, all these hipsters moved in, and they just say like you're not allowed to do any of that stuff anymore.
Yeah, it's like me with turkey hunting. I love to turkey hunt. It's hard to find a place to turkey hunt anymore.
Yeah, it really is. But then they get in thick there. That's what's so crazy is if you have enough land, they're probably not there. But if it's next to a vineyard, they're going to be thick in there. They don't want. They're intelligent, and it's just weird because I think about that with fishing too. Like, are they more intelligent or less intelligent than we give them credit for?
The deer.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're real smart. They're a whole lot smarter than people think they are.
What do you think smarter, a bass or a deer?
I'm gonna have to say a bass on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think so anyway.
Well, that's a good segue into kind of like what happened this event with you. Was this your first event? I mean, kind of paint the scene leading into it.
It wasn't my first big bass tour. I think it was the second one I ever fished by myself. I fished another one with a good friend of mine, the first one I ever fished. And I got a check in the second one I fished by myself. I got like $100 check or something. And this one, I paid for all 3 days of it. I fished the first 2 days and got put out of a check by an ounce, I think. And the second day, I didn't do anything. I did not do good at all. I was so sad, man. It was rough. I didn't even know what I was going to do the third day. I just went and started fishing docks. I caught that big one. Gills Creek.
Well, apparently it worked out.
It did. Worked out real good.
What gave you that gut instinct to go hit the docks?
It's kind of a back to the basics thing for me, to be honest with you. I've been chasing schooling fish all weekend. By the third day, all them spots was burned up. You really couldn't fish them anymore because people done caught so many of them and they done got smart. So I went and hit a couple holes. I guess you'd say a whole lot of other people don't fish. Well, I hadn't seen them fishing it anyway.
Trying to tie this in, I don't know why I tried to make this comparison here, but with deer hunting, I guess because a lot of my friends are hunting right now. Opening day, you get in the woods. Rifle season is starting to get in here pretty soon where I'm at. Mm-hmm. It seems like the first 2 days, they are kind of fairly stupid, and then it does real quick get tough. When you look at like the big bass event and there's about 100,000 boats, how long did it take to you feel the pressure?
Oh, that lake was already pressured before it from everybody coming up there practicing, in my opinion. But the first day, it was all right fishing. I caught a bunch of fish the first day. They just weren't no big ones. The second day, it done got real tough because, people were sitting everywhere I wanted to go. Just by the third day, I just decided I'd go in a creek and start fishing docks. If it worked out, it worked out. If it didn't, it didn't. I was just going to go for broke.
That's what you got to do in these events. And I mean, what's going through your mind like 5 to 10 minutes before you set the hook on that fish?
I didn't know what was going to happen, man. I pulled in there, and I looked at that dock, and to be honest with you, I don't know why, but I skipped under that dock 3 or 4 times.
Really?
Sure did. And he bit it. And I don't do that. It was just I skipped under it, and then I pulled around, and it was like a big opening in the back of it. So I skipped under it a few times where I could really get up under there, and he just bit it. He wrapped me around a post and everything. I don't know how I got him in.
What about that dock? Were you hitting all the docks multiple times, or just something in your head said, like, I got to hit this dock more?
I usually don't skip under a dock more than twice, and I keep rolling. But I was fishing it, it looked like a normal dock in the front of it. So I went around it. Well, I guess it was an opening to the boat slips on this one was on the side instead of in front of it. So I pitched on them a couple times because it was an old dock. Just an old messed up looking dock. And he was on that other side of it. For some reason, I did it. I'm happy I did. I can tell you that.
When you landed it, and then guys, the winning fish will be the profile picture, the thumbnail for this episode here, so you can get a good look at it. I've had a couple of fish like that in my life. I had a big kayak tournament this year where I caught I think it was a 21-inch smallmouth, and I was like, I think I just caught big fish of the tournament. It was a big one, and it was weird that someone else could have caught one, but in my head I was like, did I just do a thing? When you put that boat on the carpet, where was your mind at?
I didn't even know what to think, man. I knew I was gonna beat the person that had it, but I didn't know if it was gonna hold. I was ecstatic. When I caught that fish, I was in shock, to be honest with you. That's the 4th one that big I've caught up there, but to catch it at a time like that, that's pretty crazy. It's perfect
right place, right time. Yeah,
yeah.
It's crazy how that worked out, and then like I think we need to like add a little back history to this thing. What were you fishing out of, and how were you practicing for this thing?
I was fishing out of my daddy's guide boat. That's all I ever had to fish out of. I don't even have a truck now. I'm working on getting one of them now. But he was at the beach, and he had a buddy up there at the lake. So the man let me dock my boat at his dock. And I just drive the car down there and get in his boat every morning and start fishing the tournament.
Oh, that's so freaking cool.
To be honest with you, I didn't even get to practice that much for it. I mean, I've been fishing all summer, don't get me wrong, but, the week or 2 before it, I don't even think I got to go but once or twice.
Do you think practice really matters when there's that many people on the lake?
I don't think it does. I don't think, in my opinion, I mean, catching a fish that big is just kind of always been to me a thing is, you get lucky to fish that big to win a tournament like that.
I talked to Brian about this a couple weeks ago on Basscast Radio. Guys, go check that out. Where I feel like at some point more luck gets involved when you have so many anglers on the lake. I think if it's like if it's a 10-person tournament, okay, there's a lot more skill involved. If you go up to 3,000 looking for a big fish, you can't, like, I just don't know how you practice for that. And just the craziness of people moving around, especially if you're trying to fish offshore. That's got to be a nightmare of that many boats.
You think you got the secret spots up there. You ain't seen people fishing them all summer, and you go fish a big bass tour, and it's 3 boats in the line fishing side by side each other on them.
Oh, dude, I've always wanted to put like a GoPro on time lapse on a dock and just like time lapse it for a day, like a Saturday, just to show you like how many people probably hit that cove or that dock in 8 hours. It would probably blow people's minds.
It really would, especially up there. That lake gets so much pressure on it, it's ridiculous.
Striper fishing. How does I know very little about striper fishing. How does that work up at Smith? Do you guys just do you just drop down in the summertime? Is there a lot of fishing for striper in the summertime? What's the seasonality with that?
My daddy, in the summertime, he does a whole lot of artificial jigging, but he'll do something too called free lines. He'll take him shad and put them on a hook, just on a little old spinning rod, and he'll pitch them out there on live scope to them stripers swimming around, and they'll eat them. It's pretty cool. But
really,
in the wintertime, when it gets real cold, he'll start jigging for them again, artificially.
Oh, that's really cool. How did you learn that trick about just throwing a shad out there like that? That's cool.
He fishes at the ocean a whole lot too, and I think that's kind of what they do it a whole lot out there. And it kind of just, I guess he put pieces of the puzzle together and used it on Smith Mountain.
That's actually really cool. Do you cast net the bait?
Do what?
The shad. How do you get the shad?
Oh, he throws a net and catches them.
Okay.
Be honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about striper fishing. That's the deadest thing, but I'll go with him sometimes.
Do you think there was any lessons that you learned that like transitioned to bass?
100%. My favorite time of the year to fish for bass is in the wintertime. I love bass fishing in the wintertime. And I think learning how to catch them stripers artificially on the flukes like that helped me a whole lot, when it comes to the Mickey rigging and stuff like that. A whole lot.
That's interesting. Wow.
People wouldn't believe how similar a striper and a bass really are.
How so?
I've seen my daddy catch a whole lot of big bass, with stripers, and they all feed on the same thing at Smith Mountain, obviously. Up till now, a whole lot of people didn't know, you could go out and just chase some bass in the middle of the lake and catch them. But, obviously that's becoming a big thing now.
What's the biggest bass, anecdotally, or that your dad or another striper guide have caught?
My biggest one I know my daddy's caught been 10.5 pounds out of Smith Mountain.
God, dude.
Sure did.
Lord.
Caught it pulling gizzard shads in the springtime.
For people that don't know, what does it mean to pull a gizzard shad?
He puts them on what they call a planer board, and it's kind of like a cork. And he just puts it in the lake. Instead of, it floating directly behind the boat, he's got some that'll go left and some that'll go right, closer towards the bank. Because them stripers in the springtime, they'll run the bank up real good. They'll get close to the bank running them shad up on.
Is most of striper fishing, because I know nothing about this, so I'm just curious. Are you just trolling then? Is that pretty much what you're doing?
A whole lot of it is, yeah.
A
whole lot of it.
That's interesting, because like when you fish for like largemouth too, what people are learning with forward-facing sonar is constantly moving and just looking for the schooling fish. You can't troll, but I can see why there's like that similarity there. Interesting.
Yep. I'll be honest with you, a whole lot of them artificial baits my daddy uses for stripers, they work real good on bass too, and people just don't know it.
Do you think it's because bass guys are just set in their ways?
I guess so. I don't know. That's kind of how I am too, but I'll be honest with you, I learned a whole lot about bass catching stripers.
What was the biggest lesson you learned?
Probably about that artificial stuff. And because before I started striper fishing, a whole lot with my daddy, I've always been the type of person that wants to fish the bank. Fish docks, fish all that kind of stuff. And when I started catching them stripers off live scope, the Mickey rigging and stuff like that, it made me really into offshore bass fishing, and that's probably my favorite way to catch them now is offshore.
Do stripers and like a largemouth look the same on scope, or is there a size difference?
I think they look a whole lot different. I know that Garmin bass on live scope, to me, it looks more like kind of a straight up and down line. While a striper will look, kind of like a big blob just swimming through, and it'll be 15 or 20 of them most of the time coming through there.
Interesting.
Once you get to looking at them, it ain't that hard to tell the difference.
Is there a speed factor too? I just picture striper just moving versus bass not doing that. Yeah.
All the time.
Huh. That's interesting.
It's crazy.
When you got into the tournament then, did you have any thought, like you said, of going offshore? What was your plan then?
That's what I did for 2 days starting off. Is I was going to stay offshore trying to catch them schooling bass, and I caught a bunch of them. I couldn't catch the right size ones, to get a check. I was just getting put out of a check every time. So I went and fished slow, throw the jig.
Was that hard mentally?
Oh, it was. I got so used to, I guess, looking at them fish on the screen and catching them. Yeah. I mean, I love to fish a bank still, don't get me wrong, but it's hard to leave a whole bunch of fish that are biting to go after one, especially in a tournament.
Well, just for people at home, like, what was the size difference? Are you talking like you're catching 1-pounders out deep, and then that's why you had to make the switch? Was it a big difference?
I was probably catching 2.5 pounders. They were good fish, good, decent fish, but they just weren't good enough to get a check. And I'd been catching bigger fish than that there all summer, 3.5, 4 pounders sometimes, but it just didn't work out then. What
was the biggest fish you've ever caught out of the lake?
Out of Smith Mountain? Probably 8.5.
Damn.
Yeah.
What's the biggest striper?
I don't know. I'll have to show you some pictures of them. I'll be honest with you. I don't know the measurements off the top of my head.
Like over 20 pounds?
Oh yeah. Dad catches them all the time.
Good Lord, man. That's insane.
I myself hadn't caught them that big fishing by myself, but I don't fish for them when I go by myself. So
I keep forgetting. I keep forgetting that there's striper and muskie in there. I don't know why that always escapes me on this channel, but like there's some big striper.
Oh, it's a giant striper in there. You wouldn't believe it. It's crazy how big a fish can actually get.
Oh yeah, no, dude, it's insane how fertile that lake is and how much fish just in general in there. Especially with like you have the blueback herring in there, you have the gizzard shad. They have such a great forage base, crawfish, and going really into the wintertime here. Like, you won the boat, you have this amazing moment in time. What is your plans for the future? Is it to fish more tournaments? Is it to what are you going to do now that this is set in?
Well, as soon as I get out of this cast where I just had shoulder surgery, I'm planning on starting a guide service up there next year for largemouth and smallmouth. I'll do artificial striper trips too. That's the plan. And I'm obviously going to fish every tournament up there I can. I love to compete.
Did you hurt your shoulder setting the hook on that big one?
No, I broke it at work.
Oh my God.
Sure did.
What happened?
Well, I knocked it out of place, and I went to the place, and they told me that I was going to have surgery. So I already knew I was going to have surgery before I fished the tournament, won a boat. I just knew it was going to either be I was going to be really mad for a while that I didn't do good in the tournament while I was recovering. I was going to be real happy, and it worked out.
Dude, that's a lot on you mentally. I'm again, like, just can't, like, you're going to have the surgery. You didn't get to practice the way you did. You want to be a guide, but you have your dad's boat. Yep. Again, this has been a month or 2 months. It's just been an absolute whirlwind. I can't fathom what's been going through your mind.
It's crazy, man. I still don't know what to say about winning the boat.
I mean, everything happens for a reason, and now you get to work on getting your captain's license. And I've always been curious because I've had people on this show that they've done their captain's licenses, but it was like a while ago. Now you're like in the process. Like, what is that curriculum like?
Oh my gosh, I just started it today, man. There's a whole lot of stuff in it. I think I'm on something now. tell them you got to know so much stuff about the tides and the oceans and everything before you can get a captain's license to guide on Spiff Mountain. It's crazy.
Why do you need to know about the tides and the oceans for a lake that's like, what, 200 miles from the ocean?
That's kind of what I'm thinking. It's got one on there, something about if the tide's pulling you so far and the wind's blowing, where are you going to be at in this certain amount of time if the waves keep blowing you? I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm going to be in the same spot because I'm going to have spot lock on sitting where I want to be at.
It's an interesting point that should these courses be updated because you have GPS, you have spot lock, you could probably text a friend to let them know that you're in trouble. Like, why do you need to know nautical miles? Like, you're still sailing across the ocean.
I don't know. It's just the way the Coast Guard is. And if you ain't got it and you're guiding up there, you'll get in a whole lot of trouble.
Is it like a test you have to take? Is there a video course? Like, how does it all work?
You know how when you got your boating license, it's kind of like getting your boating license, except it's a whole lot more in depth of like stuff. And it's like stuff about the ocean. That's all I've learned about so far is the ocean. I don't even fish at the ocean, so.
Now I guess you can.
I guess so.
Is it once you get it, you're good for life then, or how does that work?
I'm pretty sure. I'm not don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I can't. You may have to get it renewed or something like that. I hadn't looked that far into it.
How long?
To take it now.
How long until you think you can get it? Just in general. I mean, I know I'm not trying to put you on the spot. It's like a year process, a 2-year process.
Everybody I've talked to, it took my daddy a couple of months to get it, but he was doing other stuff in between, taking the online classes. Well, I'm recovering from this. I hope to be done with it in a month or two, to be honest with you, because I don't have anything else to do.
Yeah, and it gets it ready for the spring.
I plan to be guiding in hopefully January. I hope to start up in January.
And then I don't think we mentioned on the show, and then guys, you can look at Basscast Radio's article on it and the photo, but what type of boat did you win?
Nitro Z18 Pro.
Ooh, that's so cool.
Oh man, it's nice. I had never fished off nothing that nice, I can tell you that.
Have you taken it out?
I took it out one time before I had surgery, and now I'm kind of just waiting to get back right before I can again.
I can't imagine that feeling. Oh.
I got live scope sitting in here now on a mount I got to put on it sometime. Me and my buddies are going to do it this weekend, hopefully.
Is that the number one accessory? I mean, clearly it is because you bought it, but is that the number one thing you were thinking when you got the boat? It's like, this is the first thing I want to put on it?
Oh, when I first got the boat, I wasn't worried about putting nothing on it. I was tickled to death. But yeah, after that, that's kind of the only thing it needs, to be honest with you. It's already got an Ultrex trolling motor and everything on it.
Dude,
it's crazy.
That's so freaking cool.
It's wild.
What is the biggest change the fish are going to be doing going from now until December?
They're just gonna start slowing down, and all that. It's weird though right now because it's so warm. They really ain't moving none. They kind of just still feeding from what I'm still hearing. Feeding every day. But as it gets cold, they ought to start pushing towards the backs of them creeks.
You hope. I mean, it's so weird when we get these hot years where it feels like winter doesn't start till like mid-December sometimes. It's funky, and I don't know. You
can't really put a time on what they're gonna do or anything because it's so different now every year.
It is. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I think this is what makes fall tough for a lot of people, and this is my theory, is when you go down south and it's hot from September to December, it's a very long drawn out period. But if you're up north, it's very tight, it's short and quick. And I think that's where the daylight comes in too, because fish still move into winter behavior, but if it's hot out, it takes longer, but they still know to move because of daylight.
They sure do.
The rut is going to be happening near me soon, and it's still hot as shit. Like, they still know. I do wonder for the lake, do you think this warmer weather is going to affect the shad at all?
Probably not much. They probably still going to do what they always do because it's going to finally cool down at some point. It's kind of like you said, even though it's cold, even though it's still warm outside, them fish, once they start doing what they're doing, they ain't going to stop. I mean, they might slow down, but they ain't going to completely stop what they're doing. They're going to do the same thing. pushing to the backs of them creeks. Shad do it every year.
Are they chasing a specific type of shad? Is it anything they can get their hands on, or is it bluebacks, is it gizzards, is it threadfin?
I catch a whole lot of them, chasing bluebacks. That's my favorite way to catch them. It's fast and quick and fun. Catch them on top water all summer chasing them things.
It is a lot of fun. That's a great bite.
Sure is.
Have you seen the bluebacks? How big are they in that lake?
They're about the size of a dollar bill. A whole lot of them are. A little bit smaller than a dollar bill. A whole lot of them. Now, there's some real, small ones in there too, but a whole lot of them is about the size of a dollar bill.
That's crazy.
Yep.
As they convert into the super, super cold winter, are they going to stay in the backs of the creeks, or are they going to start moving out?
All of them do a little bit of everything, to be honest with you. Last winter, I caught them in the backs of creeks, and I caught them on the main lake, and I caught them in the middle of the lake, out deep, still chasing them herring. I mean, they weren't chasing them, as hard, but you wouldn't believe how many bass were run with stripers. Sure do. And it's hard to catch them out of all them stripers, but you can, once you figure out, you can see the difference on them. On live scope, you can kind of pinpoint them. It's real hard to do, but when you figure it out, you can catch some big ones doing it.
Is the difficulty finding them or making sure the striper doesn't eat the bait before they do?
A whole lot of times the striper's going to eat it, before a bass can. You can't really base it off of that. But
okay.
A whole lot of times, if you get around a bunch of stripers and bait and stuff like that, you're going to find a bass. I mean, I ain't saying, they'll swim with the school of striper, but, when you around bait and you're around stripers, there's going to be bass there somewhere, 100%, because they're eating the same thing.
Do they like to mingle in, or do they like to group up? So example is, you have the striper and then you'll have like the largemouth sitting underneath them, or they actually intermingle on the screen?
Well, sometimes, a whole lot of times they'll be up underneath them or just not far from them, because you'll see a bunch of stripers blowing up, catching, eating shad or whatever. They'll leave. Or bass, a whole lot of times, he'll come up after them stripers blow up, believe it or not, and they'll eat, what them stripers didn't eat, and they just unstunned. A whole lot of times. I mean, you can't base your day off of that, but I've seen it a whole lot up there.
So they're very opportunistic. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. But it's hard to try to catch a bass out of 100 stripers. You ain't really gonna do it, to be honest with you. The striper ain't gonna give you the chance.
So it's more of like a happy bonus, so to speak, versus like this is the pattern today.
Yeah, but if you get around a bunch of stripers, I mean, I ain't saying fish, really close to them, but if you're in a creek that's got bait and stripers in it, you're fishing where bass are, 100%.
Generally speaking, like how long do you give a school before you leave? Or do you force, if you see a bass in the school, do you just hunt it until you catch it?
You don't have to do that. I don't. But if you throw a bait at it, I've always took a rule of if you throw a bait at it, and it actively chases it like it's really going to eat it, you sit there and fish for them for a while. But if you give them 5 or 10 minutes and you don't catch one of them or get a bite, just leave them alone, because they ain't going to bite. You ain't going to make them bite if they don't want to.
Was that the hardest lesson you learned with live scope? Was you can't just sit on every dot you see indefinitely?
Yeah. You ain't going to catch them if they don't want to bite.
Yeah, me too. Like that was the hardest thing, guys. It's information overload. And I think for a lot of older anglers, that's what bothers them, is like you realize truly how many fish are in the damn lake. And you have to train your brain that you cast to one, and if it doesn't bite at a certain time, you just leave. Go find, there's plenty of other fish to look at. When I first got it, I remember I spent a day in the back of a cove just staring at like a group of fish on a tree all day long, just forcing them to bite. And I had a paralysis because they were there. I learned quickly that was really stupid to do in a tournament, but it is. It's like it's addicting to just, you don't want to keep moving. And now, it's been 2 years. I'm finally getting a little bit better of like, all right, it's not this past tournament one, throw the drop shot in there, 2 tries. If it doesn't work, bounce. And just repeat. Yeah, dude, it's...
What's crazy is you might come back to them fish later in the day and catch them too. They might be fired up crazy biting. You don't ever know.
And that's the secret sauce I've never learned about how we get on a good rotation versus throwing dice and just, okay, we're going to start here, because at least on the tidal rivers, you have an idea because of the tide and all that other stuff where you're going to start. But on a lake, it's like, which brush pile you're going to start on? It's like, I guess the one I caught fish on. And then we're going to start there and rotate, 3 or 4 spots. But which spot do you start on? Because you're right. You can rotate back through there and they finally start to turn on.
Yeah, it's just a process of elimination pretty much. And if, you eliminate everything you plan on fishing, you go back to them. If they bite, they bite. If they don't, they don't. Really, you ain't going to make them bite.
Mm-mm.
Never will. You do fish tidal rivers a whole lot, don't you?
Sadly, yeah, I do.
I fished a whole lot of tournaments in North Carolina, and the Neuse River and the Roanoke River, the rapids, I guess you call it. I fished them with my buddy up there in North Carolina when I was a kid. It was fun, but it was a whole lot different than it is up here fishing.
What was the biggest challenge?
I could tell you this. I didn't know what a bowfin was until I caught one up there, and I was about 14 years old. I flipped that thing in my buddy's bass boat, and he got right upset about that.
Dude, you don't ever know when you flip it. I remember a guy at Aquia Creek in Potomac. He was flipping grass, an outside grass line, and he set the hook, and his rod almost snapped in half, and he caught a 20-pound skate because it was a big saltwater push-up. I mean, you never know in tidal water what you might end up catching.
It's crazy.
But it's shallow. It's definitely different than doing that deep, clear water thing, I think.
Yeah. And that's what I've always been used to.
Do you fish a lot of saltwater? Because you said your dad likes to fish saltwater.
We go to the beach every year, and I'll fish off a pier a whole lot, for Spanish mackerel and stuff like that. I'd like to go up there and go red fishing one day.
Ooh, me too. That's a bucket list item.
I've never done that.
What's the biggest salty critter you caught?
We've caught some big sharks, reeling up to the pier or whatever and cutting them off. But we've caught some pretty good Spanish. I don't know how much they weighed or nothing like that, but because I don't really get into it like that up there. I'm kind of just up there fishing for a good time. But we've caught some big fish up there.
Dude, the just sharks, man. Off the pier. You for the cat fishermen that are listening, that's basically the apex catfish right there, because you throw out cut bait, you wait, and you hook a truck, because those things just, oh my god, they pull.
You'll be reeling in a Spanish mackerel on the end of the pier, reeling him in, a shark just come up and bite it in half. It's crazy.
I watch on Instagram some of these people that are catching, it's just they take these drones and drop these baits out there, and they're catching sharks that they look like man-eaters, look like they're 10 feet long. It's just and the special equipment they have where you have to hook the dude to the back of a truck with a strap so he doesn't get drug in the water. It's at that point, is the thing too damn big to catch? How is that fun? Hooking the back of a F-150 and then holding on for dear life for 2 hours. That's almost borderline insanity. It's just not, it's so much of a workout. I just would get exhausted and be I don't want to do this anymore.
It's crazy. I had never done that, but them sharks we catch, some of the biggest ones we've ever caught, probably 4 or 5 foot long. They weren't big, but they was big to me coming from Smith Mountain catching bass,
Yeah, that's a culture shock there. Spanish mackerel are fun though too. I don't like eating them too. See, how do you cook them?
I don't cook them. Daddy does. I still live at the house. I just graduated last year, but he'll put them on a grill and aluminum foil, put lemon and butter and stuff like that on them.
Ah, okay. I gotta try that. I had them at a restaurant. Interesting.
It's good.
Redfish are good. Redfish are banging.
I've never ate them. Everybody says they are.
Oh, dude, they're really good. Flounder are good. A lot of Chesapeake people like bluefish, but I've never been a bluefish guy.
Mm-mm.
Kobe is amazing if you can get a hold of them. Sheepshead are good. Yeah, dude, I don't know. Saltwater fishes taste better. I've had freshwater and saltwater striper. I think saltwater striper tastes better, and I don't know why.
I've never had saltwater striper. I know freshwater striper tastes pretty good though.
They taste good. They do. If you compare them to their Chesapeake Bay cousins, it's just it's something about that saltwater, man. There's not a lot of freshwater fish I enjoy compared to saltwater.
Really, you don't like crappie and stuff like that?
Crappie are good. Walleye first. Snakehead. Walleye, crappie will probably be the way it is. I hate catfish. It just tastes muddy to me. Again, maybe comment section, you can help me out there. Maybe I've had it wrong. I've just never tasted, it's never tasted good to me. I don't know why. Snakehead though. Oh God, yeah, dude. A snakehead?
Yeah, I never heard of that.
Oh, dude, it makes the best fish tacos. It's white meat that's really thick and flaky. You can dice it up, you can saute it. Dude, if you catch a snakehead, you could sell it to like the Asian market for like, I think it's like $30 a pound. It's like,
good gosh,
it's really, really good meat. And I don't mind crappie. It's just, you got to catch a metric shit ton of them to get enough food. I mean, it's like harvesting peanuts. It's insane. Again, like if someone wants to cook 1,000 of them for me, I will happily eat them for you. But, and then walleye is good. I've had walleye before. Again, it's like, depends on where you can get it from. It's just really hard to get it from around here. I had it up in Ohio, and Cleveland before, at a fish fry, and they're just, oh my God, it's really flaky. It's really good.
Yeah, crap is probably my favorite fish to eat. Like you said, though, you got to have a whole bunch of them to eat them.
Is there a lot of crappie fishing in Smith?
A whole lot. If you can catch them, you just got to find them. Yeah. I'll probably do guide trips for them too, artificially. And there's certain times of year, in the wintertime.
Is that the best time for crappie?
To me, it is. A whole lot of people love to do it. In the spring, it's obviously real good then too. But my favorite time is probably winter. But I'm so focused on bass fishing then, I don't really do it. But we always know where some's at. We can go catch if we get hungry.
That's the thing is, like, without forward-facing sonar, I probably wouldn't fish lakes as much as I do in the wintertime. Like, I now live on, like, the Shenandoah and the upper Potomac smallmouth country, so, like, the smallmouth fishing is pretty good in the wintertime, but, like, lakes in the winter before forward-facing sonar, it's like, I don't want to freeze my junk off to be out there. But now, the past 2 years, it's like, I look forward to winter. The lake is, no one's on it. You get it to yourself, and you can go out there and have pretty good days.
Yep. I'll gladly freeze to death while I sit up there in the summertime and get beat to death by wave boats all day long.
How bad is it actually, you think?
Oh my gosh. You talk pinhook boat ramp in the summertime on a Saturday, you won't even have a parking spot up there, and it'll be 3 people trying to figure out how they're going to back your boat down the boat ramp. They don't even know how to back trailers and stuff.
Who buys those boats?
Do what?
Who do you think buys? I just don't know. I have not. Maybe it's because I just know outdoors people, but I don't know a single person at a family function, at anything that's like, I like to go out in a wake boat and blare ditty music as high as possible for 12 hours. People buy these boats, but yeah, I don't understand it either. But it's a thing that people like to do, I guess. God love them.
I don't understand it. If that's what they want to do, that's fine. But daggone, they ain't got to blow a 6-foot wave across every 10 seconds.
Yeah. And then I feel like the bass fishermen, anglers in general, just get yelled at for it. It's like, we don't make those kind of wakes. We just don't. Or create the erosion or create all the havoc.
It's crazy. It's beyond ridiculous up there. And the people up there, they just don't care. They'll just ride circles around you and wave at you while they're doing it.
It's got to be ignorance.
It's bad. But you can see it when they go back to the boat ramp and try to put the boat on the trailer.
That's the easiest thing of somebody that's new to it, is like, check them out at the ramp, what's going on there. But yeah, I agreed with the thing about they'll run circles around you, and her name is Samantha, and she's waving at you. She doesn't know what the hell's going on. And it's like, how do you yell at somebody that probably has about 2 watts worth of energy between their ears? Like, they literally don't know. It's looking at a dog. Like, it's like, it doesn't know any better. Either. No, that's the dangerous part.
Yeah.
But I'm more afraid of jet skiers, though, honestly, dude. I've been on pad before. Those things put like kamikazes to shame, because they will dart in front of you like they have no worries for their life.
No, they don't care at all. I don't understand it either. And people riding around on it, especially a wave, they'll have a whole family, on a wave boat riding around, not even paying attention. It's like they just don't care.
No, they don't. But that's all of our lakes right now. That's why, again, I think fall fishing, winter fishing is so nice. Is all that goes away real easily.
I don't know if Bugs Island's that bad or not. I've been up there several times, and I've never seen it that bad as it does get at Smith. But
I mean, for people, the comment section, let me know this, but it doesn't probably get as bad. It doesn't get as bad as Lake Anna and Smith, I think. But there's also not as many houses on Kerr, which helps a lot. For all the crap I've given that place because of the fishing, because there's not a lot of houses on it, it doesn't have the boat issues that poor Smith does. And Smith is narrow too, man. Like, I've been to Lake Murray and Kerr, and they're very openish in sections. Smith is so windy. You can turn a corner, and this is the thing too. Is like, this is why I would never want a bass cat that goes 120. It's like, where I can't do that on. I would murder somebody if you turn a corner like that with all the jet skiers and stuff.
It's crazy. You kill yourself on Smith Mountain doing it. I don't understand how they can go that fast up there without almost hitting people all the time. That lake's so packed in the summertime. I mean, it's crazy.
What is the worst you've seen it?
Oh my gosh, dude! I've seen it before. When you pull in the boat ramp, it'll be so full you'll have to park on the road that goes into the ramp, and then you put in. And I mean, if you see it that bad, you just assume not even put in because I'm gonna be cussing the whole day. I'm trying to fish. You get up there early in the morning before they do and fish, and just try to ride it out if you want to stay up there. But it's rough when they come up there. Well, especially up the Roanoke side.
Why?
I guess because it's more narrow. It may not be as many boats, but I guess because, it gets more narrow up in there. I guess that's why it'll get worse. The waves and stuff, the further you go up. And they got all, that pizza place and all that kind of stuff around the bridge, too. It just attracts them, I guess.
It attracts, yeah, it is. It's like it's like a food plot, honestly. Is the Roanoke River the bigger river that dumps into Smith?
Mm-hmm. It's a whole lot long. It's a whole lot bigger.
Interesting. Yep. Dude, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I'm sorry it was such short notice to get you on this program.
I appreciate you a whole lot letting me on here.
Is there anything that we can promote for you or any links we can put in the episode description?
Well, I don't have any links or Facebook or anything yet for my guide service, but just be looking out for it. The first of the year, I'll have a page up and everything. I'm planning on calling it On Point Guide Service. Just be looking for it.
Coop, thank you so much for coming on today. As guys, he is the winner of the Big Bass tournament. Big Bass What is it called again? Big Bass something.
The Cabela's Big Bass Tour.
Cabela's Big Bass Tour, big mouthful on Smith Mountain Lake, won a boat, made the dream happen, and he's going to be starting his guide service in 2025. When that happens, we'll put a link in this episode description so that way you can find his guide service. Also, I'll have him back on the show to really start hyping that up. Good luck on your exams, as always. So, guys, link in the episode description to everything that we talked about here tonight. Also, if you want to go check us out on Patreon, that's what keeps the lights on. Again, we only have a couple of spots left for our Patreon before we shut that down to the public. Like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time on Fishing the DMV. Bye. You're listening to Fishing the DMV with your host, Thomas Ahrens. Fishing the DMV is brought to you by Jake's Bait and Tackle, located in Winchester, Virginia.
If that doesn't get you jacked up, I don't know what will.